All right. Wow, this took a while this morning to get this thing going here. I thought my coffee was going to get cold, trying to mess with this YouTube stream. It was, I don't know, just doing all sorts of things. It was kind of locked up. It wasn't doing anything. So this morning, this afternoon, I guess it's afternoon at this point, I'm going to talk about something completely different. I kind of have multiple musical personalities, I suppose. Some of you may watch this channel and wonder, what in the world, what's it about? We've got some banjo, we've got some motivational stuff, and today we're going to talk about jazz guitar. I spent a long time playing jazz guitar and probably don't teach it enough. So I want to talk about that. And the good news is that anything I go over in this video is applicable to any instrument. I'll do my best to maybe convey to some of my banjo students maybe some of the things. I got the banjo sitting over here if I need it, but most of this video is going to be done just with a guitar, and I'm going to honestly be assuming that you know a good bit. So these are kind of advanced topics, so to speak, or intermediate. I don't know if I would use the word advanced, but these are what's called 2-5-1s. But we're not just going to be playing 2-5-1s. You can go read about 2-5-1s basically anywhere on the internet or most jazz books. So the principle here is to elaborate on those 2-5-1s and give you some background on how to think about them in songs, okay? And I don't know if I will even use a song, maybe I will, but I'm gonna go over the different techniques, okay? So I like to do the key of G. So in the key of G, the 2 is A minor, and in this case, by the way, I'm putting sevenths on everything. I'm assuming we're playing jazz and not folk music, so there's no triads. A minor 7th, to D7, and then G major 7. And I'm not going to stop and tell you where my fingers are at. Like I said, I'm making assumptions here. And if you don't know these chords, you can look them up. I'll help you a little bit as we go through this. But A minor 7 to D7 to G major 7. And if you're playing like a jazz thing, whatever you want to do there. So what else can we do with a 2-5-1? Well, the first thing you might consider if you're in a jazz setting is you might play an A minor 9. Okay? And on the guitar, I'll go through it real fast, I'm just barring the 5th fret, and instead of putting the 5th fret of the 1st string, I'm playing the 7th fret of the 1st string. So this is an A minor 9. And then you might go down to a D9, which is starting from the 5th string, 5, 4, right? And you can hear the differences between the first one. Right? So there's your A minor 9. Now, some other things. So I'll give you the, as my own instructor told me, he said, this is worth the price of admission here. So 5 chords have lots and lots of tension on them already. You can hear that if I play that, it's a very unresolved sound. It's like an unfinished question or an answer. We didn't complete the sentence, so to speak. If you got to do something, you got to resolve it, right? So since it's already got all that tension in it, all that unresolved sound, is you can put even more tension on it. And this is where classical and jazz composers, they really took this to the next level, and in some ways maybe took it as far as it could go. And it's up to, some of these things I play in this video, you may look at it or hear it and say, man, that doesn't really sound all that great to me. It's up to personal preference, everybody's ears. I will say this, that the more you expose yourself to these sounds, the better some of them do sound, okay? I can remember when I first learned like a sharp 11 chord or something, I thought, it sounds awful. And that was the chord that made Louis Armstrong say that Charlie Parker and them sounded like they were playing Chinese music or something. So some of these sounds you have to expose your ears to, but let's keep going. So on the D7, you not only could play a D9, but you could take the 9, which is the E here, and you could flatten it. Actually, to me, it's a very beautiful sound. And you can hear it as a what in the world does that got to do? It's got to do something. You certainly can't just hang out there. So you could go if you were to look at the second string only, you'd see that my notes are just simply walking down. It's chromaticism. And then, okay, so that's a D7 flatted 9 to a G major 7. You could put the minor 9. And another thing you've got to get your head wrapped around too if you're going to play jazz is you don't have to play the full chord. The rest of the band's got it, and it also leaves the soloist more room to kind of express different sounds. So you notice there, like when I play the D minor 9, I'm sorry, the D9, D7 flat 9, I'm not playing the D in the bass, I'm just playing a piece of it. And that's, I could even do that for the G. You know, you have to make the assumption that somebody's playing the bass note, but you have these. So that's a D7 flat 9. Here's the regular 9. I don't know, the flatted 9 just has a really nice pull to it. You know, if you really want the music to go somewhere, then that flatted 9 forces it there, right? So that would be one. There's going to be a bunch of them, okay, unfortunately. So we've talked about regular 9s, flatted 9s. What about sharp 9s? Some people like to call this the Jimi Hendrix chord. You know, you have that kind of sound. So that is a 7 sharp 9. So we're going to take that 9 and now we're going to move it up. I really like this chord, by the way. So if you're following along on your guitar, I'm going to count it from the 5th string. 5, 4, 5, 6, D7 sharp 9. And once again, this is one of those chords, if I just play it, you know, some of you are probably listening at home and saying, this sounds a little bad. Well, everything is context in music. So this, once again, we're capitalizing on the fact that the 5 chord has all this tension in it. So this has so much tension in it that it has to resolve. There, I changed the chord on you, but it could move up, it could move down. And I'll explain what I'm doing here just a little bit. These are more advanced techniques, I suppose. But what I did there is I took I'll play the D7 sharp 9 to the G major 7, or maybe another G major 7. That's pretty. See, anything in music, you can use anything, you know, you just have to learn the proper context for it. Everything has its place. I think it's fabulous that Jimi Hendrix, of all people, that was his, you know, he was, I think people don't give him enough credit. I like Jimi Hendrix. He's got some really nice color to his playing. I think people get lost in all the crazy, you know, tricks that he did, but he was very colorful in his music. It painted a picture, so that's why I like it. But anyways, D7 sharp 9. And what I did is, here's the other big concept I'm going to talk about in this lesson, is that, you know, if I have a song that is like a bunch of 5, like it's like a D7 for a couple measures. And, you know, and then it goes to a G. I can take that 7 sharp 9, move it down to the regular 9, and then resolve it. So you saw my cat, he came in, he's always sneaking in here. So D7 sharp 9, regular 9, I can even go to the flat 9. So a lot of times when people ask me what I'm thinking is that 5 chord has so much tension in it already, I can move it around. I can, you know, if I'm playing. You can, all that is, those are just different colors that you can paint with here, so to speak. Hey, so there you go. That's a 7 sharp 9 chord. So we keep going. Why not? Now, next chord. It's getting more complicated. So I've talked about 9s, sharp 9s, flatted 9s. Hopefully I'm not missing anything here. Let's go on to a 13 chord. So a 13 chord, for those of you that don't want to count 13, it's the same as the 6th. It's just above the root. So we're looking for, if I'm in the key of, if I'm on a D, you know, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. You got to keep going, right? What is it? It's going to be a B. Okay? So but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 9 that you had, and then I'm going to add, what is that? That is the 7th fret of the 1st string. It looks terrible, right? Nice. But it's a very beautiful chord. Okay, I can use it. Now, I'm not going to do this, honestly, most of the time. That's kind of stupid. It's hard on the fingers. But you also have, here's another thing I tell students, is that when the chords get more complicated, we're talking like, I don't know, 6 notes or 7 notes or even more. Piano players, you know, they have 2 hands. They can do all of these things pretty simply. Not saying it's easy, I'm just saying it's a little bit easier than the guitar. But when you get all of these notes and you put all of those together, like let's say 7 notes, you can imagine it's like sounds just colliding with each other, okay? And what you can get is you can get mud and mush, meaning that too many sounds, okay? So when I start playing something like a 13 chord, I'm not going to put in a 1, a 3, a 5, a 7, a 9, 11, a 13. I'm not going to put all that stuff in. So my voicing is simply this. And I'll spell it from the 4th string. It's going to be 4, 5, 5, and then 7. So that is a D13. What are the notes I'm playing? I'm playing the 3rd and the 7th, which are the most important notes. I'm also throwing in the 9th and then the 13th. So I have... Now, what I could do with this is if I go back to the A minor 9, you'll notice that it already has that in there. And maybe I can resolve it down to a G major 9. And then to finally a resolution. So, sounds like... If I want a real chord change... that sort of sound, right? Or if I'm playing like jazz, I'm going to hit it more like... more like that sound. Okay, you've heard the sound. So those are basically 13ths, A minor 9 to D13, and then here we're getting more complicated. So just like we had 9s and we were able to flatten it, we were able to sharpen it, with a 13, we're going to be able to flatten it, okay? And so let's go into that. So if this is a D13, well, it stands to reason, the flat 13, you just move it down. I really like this chord. You can hear the mysteriousness of it. You have this, I'm going to try my best to play the root and the 13. Yeah. So you have all sorts of tension there. And this chord now, let's go. It's harder to hear. This may be one of those where your ear says, I can create all sorts of movements with this flatted 13. Very beautiful sound, actually. You just have to... Okay, I'm going to pause just for a minute here and reiterate. So, a lot of times people miss, and this is why you shouldn't learn jazz from books. Get yourself, some recordings. Unfortunately for me, I wasn't able to figure it out from just recordings. I had to go get an improvising instructor. But this is the big picture here, is that the 5 chord, you're almost free to play anything you want on the 5 chord. It's within your own taste, within the style of music. You know, if I'm playing triadic music, I'm not going to stick a flatted 13 on it, but at the same time, if I'm playing something with more advanced harmonies, then the flatted 13 is a very, there's the flatted 9 and the flatted 13, and that's the next thing we're going to talk about. So my point to you right now is what we're going to do is add in all these different sounds: flatted 9s, sharp 9s, regular 9s, 13s, flatted 13s on their own. Okay, you got to know them on their own first. Now, where people like, say, impressionistic composers, Herbie Hancock, somebody with a lot of advanced harmonic knowledge, they combine all these things. Added 9 with a 13, and that voicing looks like this. Like that, you see. And from the 4th string down, that is 4, 5, 4, 7. What am I playing? The 3rd, the 7th, the flatted 9, and the 13. That makes for a very nice sound with your 2 5-1s. You hear it. So that's flatted 9 and flat 13. Let's keep going. What if I put in the flatted 9 with the flatted 13? Now we're getting into some weird territory. But you can still hear the tension. I was putting the bass in there so you hear it. Okay, so if I go through just a bunch of 2 5-1s. That one. So you can hear there, what was I doing? I literally was changing it each time. I was playing, here's the regular 13 and the flatted 9. And then the second time, I kept the regular 9, but put the flatted 13. So you can mix them up. To do this, I'm going to put we forgot about the sharp 9. I'm going to put a sharp 9 and a flatted 13 on it. And in jazz, they call this fully altered, meaning you've altered basically what you can here. So now you get this. That sound is beautiful. Yeah. Try my best to put the bass in there. It's hard on the fingers, though. So that's your fully altered sound. So now you have sharp 9, flatted 13. So those are some possibilities. I'm going to run through them, I think. Let's see if I can remember them all. So regular, A minor 7th, D7, G major 7th, and then we put 9s on everything. Flatted 9 on the D7. Sharp 9 on the D7. 13s. Flatted 13. Flatted 13 again. I'm going to put it to major 9. I like that better. Now, let's start adding all of them together. So, right? So we had, I didn't go over that one, I should have, but that's a sharp 9 with a regular 13. It's out there. Okay? Now, sharp 9 with a flatted 13. And the beautiful thing here, I'm going to get my pick. The beautiful thing about this is if you're playing a song that has, lots of 2 5-1s, you can use these things. And they're not only going to be useful for, just backup, but they're going to be useful for your solo playing as well. So if you have a clear picture of where the flatted 9 is here, when I'm soloing, I can, target that. There's my flatted 9 sound. have that sound in your head, how it sounds, you know that it's going to move down. So you have that sound. You'll know your arpeggios too, maybe. You have that sort of thing going on. If I know where a sharp 9 is, that one, you can even target that. You have. That's what I use actually a lot, is I'll put the sharp 9 and the flatted 9 in there. I'll maybe like. So that's a sharp 9 and a flatted 9 in the line. You have all sorts of ideas, but so you have a sharp 9 and a flatted 9 there. Let's talk about the 13. So if, you know, the 13's there, of course. So I mean, you can. It's hard to do this without a bass player, but you have like A, D, that would be the 13. So that's the 13. If you want the flatted 13 with the sharp 9, it almost looks like a chord, and you can arpeggiate these things. I'll do some more. So I use these visually to where I can visually see them in real time, and I'm picking out notes. It's like targets, like we're target practicing here. You have this you know, that is a visual kind of graph for me, and I'm able to pick out the notes. If I want those fully altered notes, then I can do that. I think I've mentioned in other videos, people sometimes use the melodic minor scale. You can certainly come at it that way, but I think this visualizing the chords is probably a little bit easier. One second. So there's all sorts of ways to go about, you know, 2-5-1s, being able to navigate through them. I was trying to think if anybody has any questions, you can just throw it in the chat there. I'm going to keep going for a while. I'm trying to think of some other things. So if I go back and think about how can I improve my playing over 2-5-1s, what you can do is you can learn the arpeggios. So if you have like, let's say an A minor 9, you want to play A, C, E, G, B, that would be the A minor 9. And let's say you want to play the D7 flat 9 next. So you have now D7 flat 9, 1, 3, 5, 7, flat 9, and then of course you keep going, but and then G major 7. That would be the major 9 arpeggio. So you could arpeggiate them. And then of course you want to change up the order. I'm playing flat 9s, by the way. Flatted 9. there. Now there I went into melodic minor. So I said something like, here's the flatted 9, but there was the sharp 9 as well. So that's melodic minor. Let's see. Maybe emphasizing the flatted 13 with the D. So maybe something. That's the flat 13, the B flat. Now, that was kind of interesting there. I just kind of made that up. I was improvising, but I played some sort of like A minor. But then I went D7, D flat 13, and then to maybe G. Again. And then let's emphasize the flat 13 solo. Flat 13. I mean, you could have all sorts of fun with this. I'm just making up stuff at this point. But what I urge you to do is, once you learn the chords, is, you know, there I knew that the flatted 13 was a B flat. So whenever I got to the D chord, you know, if I was playing over the D chord, I was just simply emphasizing it. And hopefully you understand this too, is like these things, they have specific places they can move. Like, so if I'm over a D and I hit this, well, it's very obvious, like you can't just hang out there. Like, you've got to do something with the thing. So the closest note in a G chord is a B. So what I did, move it up, you can move it down. So these things have tension and resolutions. We'll talk about this maybe later, but half steps are your friend. So whenever you have those tense notes, you're usually only a half step away from the right note resolution. Okay, so those are 2-5-1s. I'll maybe do some more videos on some jazz guitars, but jazz guitar. If you have any questions, just throw them in the comments. These topics are going to be for my more advanced, intermediate looking students, okay? So beginners, please don't get overwhelmed. You know, context is everything here. You have to just kind of pick your battles, so to speak, but I will be more than glad to help you out if you have any problems. Take care.